All right, everybody, welcome to the June 2025 edition of Camera Club of Richmond. I'm Martin Evans, and we're going to go through a few introductory slides before the evaluation. Let's see if this works. Nope. Do the next. Oh, there we go.
Now the slides are on.
Any guests that are here that are not members?
We have a guest online,
Yes,
Okay.
Larry Thompson.
Larry Thompson. He's visiting,
Welcome.
Thank you.
and that's Martin. That's our president.
Okay.
They got me off the street tonight, and as you can see, many thanks to Fred Morton for the light display that we had the last go-round, and to Laura for her ICM presentation and evaluation from the last couple of meetings. I put this in here just to remind folks, AI is becoming even more and more prominent. We at the Camera Club of Richmond are not going to be the AI police for you. We're not going to take your image and go have it analyzed and see how much is AI and how much is your own work. But we would ask that people be conscious of what they're doing and have the image be yours and not the AI world generation. This is, you can read through it on our, what is it, Karen, bylaws, or what is the document that we have that printed in? Right. The end of the year procedure has a little more detail, but at the end of the day, we want the image to be yours and not generated by an AI product. Lisa Watkins is in the June Spotlight and Southern Exposure. Very nice article with some very good photographs in there. Terry has his ongoing Southern Exposure dialogue in there as well. Karen, you want to comment on this part? Let it stand. The Facebook part is members only, but the magazine is wonderful with continuing lots of information in there. This is probably the biggest category or slide tonight because there's so many moving parts and exhibits. As you may have known or may have received a document asking you to fill out details of your submissions for various exhibits. It's not, I don't know, we may have done that before, but we've not seen it recently. And the reason for it is we've got sort of back-to-back exhibits, and in order to lessen the number of trips back and forth and drop-offs and repositioning things, we're asking you to fill out this document so that we can make the transition between various exhibits pretty seamless. Any questions about that? Karen? It came out in an email within the last day, I think.
A through L, and the rest of the group get them.
So,
okay, the question is, how many prints are we requesting from each person? So what we'd like to see are 3, actually Pat should be doing this, Pat Davis. We want 3 for the first few shows and then 2 more for Perkinson. Right? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, and if you have any questions about the form, just email me, and the digital files will go to Patricia Munford like usual. And the other thing I wanted to add that's not on here is that the Cultural Arts Center is going to have an all gallery reception on July 17th from 6 to 8 p.m. So please mark your calendars, and we will send out more information about that when we get it from the Cultural Arts Center.
But look carefully at this form because it tells the number of images available, and it says that whatever that number is, 2 or 3, you can have a few more at Perkinson because they have such a big space.
Right, right. It's 3 for the other shows and then 2 additional for Perkinson. And then the question that I answered before I had the microphone was about the form going out. So I sent it to A through M on our mailing list because Google has a limit. And then tonight I will send the survey form out to N through Z. So keep an eye out. If you don't get it, email me at publications.ccrva.
It's a pretty self-explanatory form. It's not hard to do, and using that will help the digital download folks to keep the names and the data straight.
So do you resend it digital?
No,
Basically, yeah, just give us 5 possibilities, and then the ladies that work the magic behind the scenes will figure out which ones they want to put and where, and they're going to be carting them all over Richmond.
So you could just say, I submit 1 to the first 3 exhibits, but then I want to submit 2 to Perkinson. You can do that. Does that make
the
sense?
point is that Perkinson's space is bigger than the other spaces and will allow for bigger images as well.
Yeah, so if you got a big old panorama you want to showcase. And Perkinson gets a lot of traffic. They constantly have shows and all kinds of things going on there. So it should be a good exposure for us. And it's our first time there. It's a fairly new facility. I think it's been only there a couple of years. Terry says it's beautiful.
And there are deadlines in there, and just to reemphasize, the June 27th date for all of this is pertinent. But just be sure not to delete this, and if you have questions, send an email.
Yeah, Karen or Pat, if you have questions. Pat Hutchinson says Pat Davis is the person who wants to get that information.
This is from Jane about next meeting will be a swap meeting, and we'll have information, old cameras, opportunities to buy, sell, trade, whatever. And it's going to start at the 6 o'clock hour. And this is our first time doing that. Kim Seligren has been kind enough to donate a bunch of his equipment for sale. And the only thing that he's asked for is a donation to the SPCA, I think it is. And I would remind again, Ms. Taylor's next go-round with monthly assigned subject is Moody photography. And just to remind the newer folks, that means that there's 1 image submitted under the assigned subject label, and you can submit a second image, but it's not under the assigned subject. It's just whatever you want.
Definition.
Whatever you want it to be. Moody can be a good mood, I guess, or a somber mood, and I think the idea was that we think of it actually as a little more somber. And I don't know what the individual thinks, but that's what I thought of it.
In our June magazine, there's more of a definition
Yes.
for moody photography. So if you look in the magazine, you'll find it.
Any other comment, Jane? No.
I saw prints are accepted next.
Yes, prints are accepted at the next go-round. This is that Joe Ring has and Marianne have activities that you can find in the Southern Exposure. And Carol Davis is our evaluator, Maryland-based business partner with her husband, Tom. She's been here before and did a great job. She has graphic design background, has books, lots of degrees, frequent judge and evaluation. And she did such a good job last go around that she gave her blessing to do it again. So without further ado, we'll turn the stage over to her and images.
All right, this is absolutely beautiful. Let's see, where are the a loving couple. Beautiful capture. The only thing that stands out for me is the key line here is a little bright, so it's a little bit distracting. So from a competition point of view, I would tone that down just a little bit. I'm actually going to jump over into the develop module here. Right in this area, you might get dinged a little bit as far as the lack of definition in here. So you may want to come in and just lift those shadows just a little bit. You can do that either through masking or through the shadows slider. Just be a little careful because when you're doing the full slider, you're getting a full range of the edit there versus the masking. If you wanted to do the masking, then you could come up to masking here. Of course, like I say, new computer. And you would choose brush, and then you could mask it out and change it along those lines. Well done. It's a beautiful image. All right. And then we have a strong.
Hey, Carol. Sorry, that
Pardon
was
me?
by Ann Fulcher.
Pardon me?
That was by Ann Fulcher.
Okay. I'm
The,
not
the
seeing
first
the,
one.
I'm not seeing the names. Did you want
You won't.
to?
You
Okay.
won't see the name. You're not supposed to see the name until you've reviewed it.
Okay,
But
so
the first one was titled "A Loving Couple" by Ann Fulcher. This one is titled "A Strong Header."
okay.
And before you
do-
said get started, Carol, some requests in here. If you can make the actual image bigger,
So
the
if
center,
I
this film
if-
strip maybe lower or smaller,
let's see.
or hide it. Yeah, that's better.
Is that better?
This little down arrow right there.
Or you can hit the F to get a full screen.
What's
Say it
that?
again, Doug.
Letter F will give you a full screen.
So if I go into the full screen, then you're not going to be able to see any adjustments.
Correct.
So if maybe if you go to full screen at first, then everybody can see it, and then when you hit F again, right, Doug, and she
Right.
goes back to here, and then you can show your adjustments.
Okay, let's see. My only concern is I'm on a hotel Wi-Fi and I don't want to get disconnected. So, all right, there's the full screen. Okay, so we'll go with that. And then is it just an arrow to move to the next? Okay.
Yeah, and maybe if you could hide the film strip at the bottom.
So I need to
I think
I'm
if we
gonna
do
Okay.
the full screen, and I apologize, we should have rehearsed this, so I'll own that. If we could do the full screen for now, and then when you're ready to show and edit, Carol, you can go back to develop, do the develop, and go back to full screen for the next one.
Gotcha. Now, as far as announcing images, do you want to announce the name first and then when I finish the review, say whose image it is?
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, great. So let's start with saying the name and then I'll review.
This one is titled "A Strong Header."
Okay, awesome capture. And I would imagine this would be entered into the reportage category. Definitely.
We don't have categories for
Okay.
monthly evaluations.
Okay. Along the lines of competition, that's where this image would go. And typically when you have that type of image, you have very little edits that are allowed to it. So this is it's a great capture, great way to be in the right place at the right time. Okay.
That was by Bill Whitworth. This one is titled "Antique Books."
Okay. I love the concept of the antique books. I would maybe move my positioning around just a little bit so that I could see the rest of the bookmark, or not the bookmark, but the book ends. If you wanted to take this further as far as any type of competition goes, you would definitely want to remove the lines in the tablecloth or perhaps press it ahead of time. It is a little bit distracting, but other than that, nice capture.
That was by Kemp Davis. Yeah, it does look like it's cutting a little bit off of the top of the photos.
And that's because of the full screen.
Okay. This one is titled Black versus White.
Okay, very interesting and profound capture. It definitely is thought-provoking. The only thing that I would add to this would maybe be to up the contrast a little bit. It's just a little bit flat. I do notice at the top of the gentleman on the left's head, it appears as though some work has been done right there and he's missing part of his head. So I would be very careful in that if in fact the maker did anything to the image.
It might be
Okay.
the full screen.
Yeah,
Yeah, we might be a victim of the full screen
Yeah.
on this one.
he's not missing
So
his
no,
head.
it's right on his forehead, so it's within the
okay.
green line. Yeah, it's within the green line. So it looks like there may be some cloning marks there if that's what happened, or motion.
That was by Martin Evans.
Okay.
This is titled Blackwater Falls, West Virginia.
Beautiful image. Right time of day, and certainly a beautiful season. I would envision that it gets even prettier, although that's hard to imagine here. If in fact you wanted to put this image in competition, I would recommend that the people who are down in the lower left corner be removed. As much as you really don't notice them there, that's something that a judge would certainly pick up on. Just the nip and tuck of things like that are the things that they look for. Okay.
That was also by Martin Evans. This is titled Blue Jay Portrait.
Again, nice capture, nice and clear. You can see that he's been enjoying some seed there by the dust on his beak. That's typically a characteristic of them, and blue jays are hard to capture. Again, if you wanted to put this in competition, I would be mindful of this area right here, just to clean it up a little bit because it is a little bit distracting. And that's one of the things that the judges are always remarking on, is that if it's something that doesn't necessarily add to the image, then we have the power to take it out, and we should. Great capture, though. I mean, the clarity is amazing.
That was by Rebecca Perry.
So we're having a challenge seeing the whole screen. So it looks like full screen won't work.
Okay, so I'll show you what the difference is.
Okay.
So the other thing that I could do, and again, I don't know that this would help, but if anything, I think it's going to make it smaller. You tell me.
You could just
You can
close
also-
the left side of your screen.
Pardon me?
You can close the left side of your screen.
Let's see, let me close this.
There's a little arrow.
There's an arrow right there. Yep. And then on the other side, it's the same. And then at the bottom, there's one more.
Yeah, it's not going to
Oh,
give.
sorry, in the middle bottom. My bad.
Yeah, it's not really going to give you much more.
Okay. All right. I think that's what we can do. Thank you.
Okay. Uh-huh.
This one is titled Cactus Flower.
Again, another beautiful capture, nice and crisp and clear. You can tell that it's taken at the middle of the day. The sun is very bright, which is giving you a harsher light, yet at the same time, the nice thing about the harsh light is it gives you clarity in this area here. I would possibly crop it in a little bit tighter. Let's see what happens when we do that. Let me undo this. In cropping it in a little bit tighter, it will it'll bring your focus more into that area there. Nicely done.
It's by Terry Troxel. This is titled Canal Walk.
Again, a place that draws me in. The leading lines here are really nicely done. You've got several points of interest actually that converge you right into the image, which is what you want your viewer to do. You've got these lines right here that are leading you in. You have these from the building. You have them in the foreground, which leads you right into the middle of the image. It's composition is properly done. Again, just another all around nice image.
That was done by Dave Johnson. This is titled Classic Elegance.
What a nice car. Again, shot in the middle of the day, beautifully done. It's crystal clear. If you're able, whether you can move the vehicle so that you don't have this fence in the background that is a little bit competing. With the tools that we have now, it is easy to remove that fence, yet at the same time, I know you were talking prior to this about AI and how much you use AI. So it's all within the regulations of what you are and aren't allowed to use. You can certainly rubber stamp that. It would take a long time. I would clean this area up here as well. Again, these are all things that the judges would be looking at. I love that it was done with probably an F16, F22, because you're getting your nice star there from your reflection off of that wheel. So nicely done.
It was by Karen Davis. Cold Buds.
Well, this is interesting. It's fun at the same time. It makes me curious as to just exactly what kind of buds they are. And whether it's a soft drink or winter or what have you. Composition is nice. It takes you from the bottom here and leads you up into the photo. The colors are certainly nice and bright. It's definitely an enjoyable image. I may crop it a little bit here towards the bottom just to give a little bit more interest, but still beautiful image.
That was by Carol Annis. This is titled Columbine.
Columbine. I have a few of these in my yard myself. Again, they're a fun flower. I would worry that if I were putting this in competition, that you may be judged harshly on this in the background here. So if you could eliminate some of this area back here, it is distracting. By simply going, let's see, if we mass subject, let's see what happens. Okay. And actually, I could have done background. So let's take this and let's invert the mask so that now the only thing that's highlighted is the background. Now you notice right up in this area here where it did not select the background, you can come in and you can add to that mask with a brush. And I'm going to use my bracket on my keyboard. And there I'm going to paint into this area here so that that's not selected as well. Make it a little bit smaller. Then I'm going to come over here I'm going to bring the exposure down just a little bit. And then let's see, let's do a little bit of the clarity. Let's see if that's available. Yep, let's bring the clarity down a little bit and blur it. And in doing that, it brings that image to the forefront a little bit more. We can pull that texture down. And I'm cautious to use AI stuff now because I know you guys mentioned it, but I do want you to see what you can do with this. So we're going to go into the eraser, and you're going to have generative AI checked. And then normally I don't start by coming up close. I'll start by coming out a distance away. And if nothing else, it's a good starting point. I'm just highlighting this area, and then I'm going to hit remove. Sometimes it does a good job, other times it doesn't. It gives you a choice of 3 different variations, so we'll toggle through, and we'll do it again. And it really didn't fix it. Now, if I took this over into Photoshop, chances are it would do a better job. You can also come up and come in and do this one here. Same thing. The idea is to just make it so that all you see is that flower. So you can see the difference between what it was before and now. Okay?
By Carrie Gottlieb. This is titled Concentration.
This is an amazing, amazing shot to be right in that spot. I can't imagine what lens you used, but at the same time, just being in the right spot at the right time also. Now, one thing that I do notice that you can add to it is bringing your concentration in a little bit closer. To do that, I would first level it up just a little bit so that the symmetry is more so. And then I would bring it in just ever so slightly, make sure that you have control over your crop. And then I would pull it in so that it's as equal as you can get it. And that just brings you right into that space there. Nicely done.
That was by Pat Davis. This is titled Crossing Over.
Another beautiful image of architecture. It's nice that your shadows are not completely blocked here. And by blocked, I mean black. You can see detail in your shadows. If you wanted to bring it out just a little bit more, you could certainly come in to the masking tool, use a brush. Let me make that larger by using my arrow key here. Or I'm sorry, not my arrow key, my bracket key. And normally I would use my Wacom tablet, but I'm a little bit handicapped with the mouse this afternoon, although it's not saying that you can't use the mouse. It's just that the Wacom tends to give you more control. So I would select that there, and then I would go into the shadows, and I would bring those up just ever so slightly, just so you see a little bit more depth there. Okay?
That was by Linda Schmiel.
Okay.
This is Daylily Stamens.
It's always nice to get in close and see the different parts of flowers that we normally do not appreciate. And before you know it, they're gone, because this is part of a lily that disappears very quickly. The saturation is a little bit high on it, although it's very possible that this flower was that bright. I would be cautious with my focus. It looks like it's just a little bit soft there. If you wanted to clean it up just a little, you could always come in with your Band-Aid tool here, and these little dots right here are just a little bit distracting. So you can just come in and tap with your mouse like so. Open here. If for some reason one of these dots goes somewhere that you are not happy with, you can always move it so you can see how it changes. So it really makes a difference where that other dot ends up. So closest neighbor is normally the best to choose. And then when you click off of it, those dots are gone. So they're not as distracting. Although you do still want to leave a little bit just for the sake of texture. Okay.
It was by Carol Hageman. This is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Very nice. Statues are always one of the easiest things to photograph, however, sometimes the most challenging, especially if you're there at night, which this obviously was. It's certainly well done. We always would like to see a little bit closer or from different angles, because sometimes each angle will tell a different story. I'd be interested in reading more about the statue, because some, especially the artists that created the statue, sometimes they have not hidden meanings in the statue, but they are sculpted in a way that they tell a different story. For example, there is a statue in front of the American Red Cross building in Washington, D.C. And if you read about that statue, you will see that even though you look at the front of the statue and the face looks like a regular person and like there's nothing different, if you look at it from one side, it has one expression. And if you look at it from the other, it has another expression. So knowing ahead of time, some of these statues, if they have that type of a story, it's always interesting to capture that as well. This is certainly a wonderful capture. I love how the silhouette of the trees are in the background, also marking the area. So well done.
It's by Michael Bryant. This is Double Vision.
That's for sure. Oh my. I have to wonder what type of animal is this? Is that a genetics thing that's going on? I'd love to hear more of the story on this.
It's
at
a
the same-
wildebeest.
okay. Um, is it one? It's two. So there's
Two of
two
them
there.
standing close.
Okay, right. I'm like, okay, there's more legs there than what should be. So uh that's a once in a lifetime capture there where they lined up perfectly and everything's a nice sharp focus. Well done. I'm enjoying it.
That was by Harold Lana. Doctor Who, is that you?
This draws me in. It makes me want to know who that character is. How was this photographed? Was it, I mean, it's obviously at night, but even being able to find a telephone booth nowadays is really a challenge in itself. It's obviously a long exposure where someone was able to step into the photo, and it makes you feel as though you're being transported in time. Well done.
It was by Joe Ring. Early morning golf course.
Boy, I don't know that I'd get out of my golf cart at this point. I would just sit there and enjoy the moment and the serenity of everything. Nice capture. I am concerned a little bit about the shadows down here in the bottom, and I'm not sure that there is enough information there, honestly, to bring forward. We can always try by doing a linear gradient. And we'll pull that up like so. And let's see what happens, because sometimes those shadows will fall apart, and they did. So if that's the case, I would come back And I would just pull up the crop on this just a little bit. And then what you're also doing is putting that interest and the composition down in that lower quadrant, which in my personal opinion is pleasing. So I would stick with that. And then now at this point, this marker really doesn't add anything to the photo. So I would come along here and I would just strike down a line there. Let it take care of itself, and there it is. I would probably even come through and remove these little marks right here. Maybe add a little bit more texture to it, and there it is. Okay.
This is by Victor Grand. This is titled Enchanted.
Another great image. It makes me want to put my tennis shoes on and go for a walk. I would bring this crop in ever so slightly. Again, to bring that composition down into that lower quadrant. Pull it up just a hair. And maybe even pull it down to about there. Like so. Okay. Nicely done.
This is by Bruce A. Yoder. This is titled End of Times.
Wow, that's thought-provoking as well. I'm definitely drawn into the brighter section down here. It does concern me that it's a little, or it appears to be a little bit soft on my screen. Let's see. Let's see what happens when let me find the right one that I want. I don't always go straight to sharpening, although sharpening will sometimes work. Not seeing. There's another slider, but for whatever reason, it's not showing up on this one. Let's see. Let's just pull up the sharpening just a bit. So you can see the difference in detail by just adding a little bit of sharpening there. So I would definitely pull that up just a little bit.
Oh, that's titled John Schick, excuse me, that was by John Schickler. This is titled Entwined.
Oh, I love a good black and white, and this is definitely one right in front of you here. I'm also appreciating the rock here that's almost in the shape of a heart. And if you look at it from that perspective, these could even be the veins that are leading off from the heart. So great title. If you wanted to step out on the wild side a little bit, you could even pick something that was heart related as well. I love the contrast. Up here in the darker shadows, you definitely have information and detail, as well as down here. Nicely done.
This is by Karen Davis. Eye of the Turtle.
Eye of the Turtle. All right. And this is a terrapin, I think. Is that not right? Great capture, getting up close, shallow depth of field in the forefront, and then in the back, which is giving great emphasis on the eye of the turtle itself. I would perhaps remove this just because it's not necessarily adding anything to the image. Typically, anything that's brighter in the image is what draws your eye. And this is particularly bright, so I would take it out because it is a little bit of a distraction. And then that way, for sure, as soon as this image comes up, the impact of that eye of the turtle is right there in front of you. Okay.
This is by Kurt Engelman. This is Eye on the Prize.
Nice. And I'm thinking this is Mr. Osprey. And It's always nice to see them returning home after being south for the winter. Nice detail. I am a little bit concerned in this area where there may be just a little bit of detail missing. So let's just bring those highlights down just a bit and see what happens when we do that. So in bringing that slider down just a little bit, it does bring that more into view. And then we'll bring that exposure back up ever so slightly. I would maybe even come in with a brush and come right around his eye and mask that out. And then come into my sharpen for clarity. Pull up the clarity of that eye just a little bit to make it pop. It does appear as though the background has been removed, so you have some ghosting here. And if that's something that you were going to put into competition, that would be one of the first things that they talk to you about is the ghosting around the image. So you would need to go in and remove some of that.
That was
Okay.
by John Schickler. This is eyes on the prize.
Nicely done, red tail hawk. We have those in our area, and it's always such a pleasure to watch them in flight. You can definitely tell the light is coming in from this side because you definitely have, it is not a flat image. It has nice depth to it, nice shadow on this side. Again, perhaps I would strengthen those eyes a little bit with just a little bit more detail. Your key line here is just a little bit thick, so it does draw my eye in that direction. I think you could even possibly benefit by bringing it in a little bit tighter and having the emphasis right on the red tail. Okay.
That was by Michael Orr. This is titled Family Tradition.
What a classic and what a keepsake. There's no putting, a value to this or worth because it's priceless. These types of images are what make us do what we do. And not only is it important to, I would assume, the grandfather, but for this little boy years later, it is truly going to be a treasure for him. My only hope is that you also have one from the same day where they have their arms wrapped around each other, and whether they are looking at you or not, that you have them together as well as this precious moment. Nice capture.
Perry.
I'm sorry, who was that?
That was by Rebecca Perry.
Okay.
Feathers of Desire.
Beautiful, beautiful image. I love the composition of it. My only concern, again, because it appears as though it has been prepared for competition, is this right here is a distraction for sure. And as much as I want to feel that it's a tree, because this appears to be a tree, it does look like a person. So I would do what I could to remove this. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to remove this portion, although with the tools that we do have available to us, let's see what happens when we select background. Look at that. It's amazing what can be done now. So with that background selected, you can still come in and you can add that brush. And I would make it smaller. Oops, what did I do? Hang on. I got ahead of myself there. Okay, so we are going to add to the mask with a brush. And this can be a little tedious, but you come in and mask this out, and I won't take the time to do that. But then you can come back. You can bring that exposure down. You can, let's see if our other tools are available. They have new bokeh. Yes. lens blur. So you can apply now a new bokeh tool. So you can pick where your blur is, whether it's in the front, the back, the middle, the type, whether it's a hexagon, a circle, oval. That appears to be a, they call it a donut, but it looks like a lens flare. So there's several different options available there. So you can do that. And then you can also in Lightroom, let's see what happens when I remove this. Oh, wrong button. Let's not do the Band-Aid. Let's do the eraser tool. Again, we're going to remove. And there it is. Okay.
By Jerry Posenhow. This is feathers skimming the water.
Nicely done. Again, beautiful image, great clarity. If you're thinking of putting it into competition, as much as feather skimming the water is truly what is happening, I would perhaps think of a different title, just because I would look for something that was a little bit more storytelling. But other than that, beautifully done. Nice composition, nice cropping. Good job.
It's by Carol Annis. This is titled Flower Arrangement.
Okay. We are definitely in the season of flowers. I love it. My only concern on this one is, did you intend to have the background blurred? If so, it might be a little bit distracting just because of the crop. I would still bring it in just a little bit. So let's say you wanted to show the background. Still, your main focus is your rose there. So I would crop in a little bit tighter. And of course, now with the cameras that we have, we can crop in all day long and not really lose. I may even go with something like that, just to show the importance of the one flower that's in focus. Beautiful.
That was by Kemp Davis. Flower Market.
Very interesting photo. It makes me wonder, where are you and what kinds of flowers are these? This would fall under the reportage category, or even illustrative. I don't think it would fall under portrait, although you do have a full face there. But it makes me want to be there and want to know more about these flowers and what's going on. Very interesting.
It's by Jean Boyd. Forest here.
Oh, he looks like he is so much fun. I love the presentation. I would maybe change my key line here just a little bit, unless in fact you've picked up the color from the collar. Still, it's a good choice. It's not distracting. It does blend in a little bit down here at the bottom, which could possibly be something of concern. I do notice these striped lines here, which makes me wonder, was there a fence back there? If that was the case, you may want to come in and just blur that background a little bit more. So let's select the background and let's see. Let's bring that clarity down just a little, maybe pull the texture down, and you see where those lines disappear. Now, what happens when you bring that texture down is then you're modeling this up a bit, and that's one of the last things that you want to do. So let's subtract some of that mask from there. I'll make my brush bigger. And then we're going to return all of that back to its original state. But yet there in the background, it's blurred a little bit more, and some of those lines are a lot softer. Great job. He's fun.
That was
He,
by
she.
Bill Whitworth. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
That was by Bill Whitworth. This is titled Garrison.
Okay. So my first thought is I love the image. I don't know what Garrison is. So from a storytelling point of view, I would certainly be interested in having a title that tells a little bit more of the story and what it is. This area right here is a little bright. I'm aware that that's the side that the light is coming in on, but it is washed out just a little bit here. So with that in mind, let's see, hang on just a minute. Okay. So we're going to bring the brush in. And we're just going to highlight that area there. We're just going to bring the highlights down just a bit. And you can see where, even though it's still maintaining the fact that the light is coming in from that area, you have more definition and more detail in that highlighted area. Okay. You might even want to put a little bit right in this area too. Let's see if we can't. See, we just brush that in just a little bit. I love that capture though. I want to know where it is though. And Garrison may be the place, but I'm not familiar with that.
This by Patricia Munford.
Okay.
Geometric pattern against the sky.
Lovely capture. I would like to see a little bit more definition in the clouds, and the vignetting on the sides is something that I would not encourage. Sometimes people, when they see the, or should I say people, judges, when they see the vignetting on the sides, they ask, what are you trying to cover up? I would have loved to have seen the sides of that image and more detail in that sky. Let's see if the sky, if we can get any more from that sky. Yeah, just not much. I wouldn't do the exposure. I would bring the highlights down just a little bit and bring the shadows down. Not too much though, because then you get all kinds of crazy business going on up here. But I love the clarity of this right here. And of course, if you're going to mask out the sky, the filter or the mask, the automatic mask, did not get the sky here. So you would need to come in and grab that with a brush to add it in.
It's by Marianne Barnhart. This is titled Golden Gosling.
Oh, we're seeing a lot of these days, especially in ponds that are by the side of the road. I've seen quite a few in my area. I love being able to see them. I love the clarity of this image. And I realize that it's hard to get his feet in there just because of the grass. So with that in mind, I would perhaps just come in a little bit tighter, because then it's forgiven to have a tighter crop without the feet. Let's see how that goes. So then it's understood that you maybe did it on purpose and he's not missing his feet. You cropped it that way. Then you can see the clarity in his fur, her fur, whoever's as well. Fun.
It's by Cindy Walker. This is titled In Fifth Gear.
Wow, this is a high energy sport for sure. A friend of mine actually does this She's out in the Midwest, and the bruises, oh my gosh, the bruises that these women get and what they endure, but the sport is amazing, as well as this capture is. Being able to get that close and have this clarity and to show the motion and just the energy of everything is great. I love it.
This is by Joe Ring. Into the Badlands.
Ah, the Badlands. I've heard my brother talk about these often. He was in North Dakota for a short period of time, and he said they were some of the best days and the worst days, the worst being when it's cold. But this is absolutely beautiful. I love the textures and the way your eye is drawn in all the way into infinity and the horizon there, the detail in the clouds. You're not losing anything. It's just I'm enjoying it 100% from the lines, the leading lines taking you all the way into the depth of it. Well done.
Was by Mark Best. Just in time.
Ah, another reportage, being in the right spot. And I say the right spot. It's not always easy to get these images, that's for sure. And so many times it goes so underappreciated because it happens so quickly. So to be able to capture it in the way that the maker did is very nice. I like the key line that goes around the outside of it, the full motion of it, the expression. Just the feeling, the guts that it takes to get in there and play that sport. Well done.
Was by Ling Whitworth. This is Kestrel's Laser Focus.
Ah, another little hawk. I love this image. My one thought, as far as competition goes, though, as much as this is grounding here in the corner, it is also distracting. So I would be curious to see what the difference is if you took those out. Because then it gives that air of mystery of how did you get that bird in flight? He's possibly just taking off from the ground here. But nonetheless, yeah, I mean, you captured it and it's clear, it's nice. He's intent on the hunt. And you can certainly see that in the title suggested as well. So well done.
Was by Cindy Walker. This is King of the Fennel.
King of the Fennel, the swallowtail butterfly, or at least the caterpillar of the swallowtail butterfly. I find this to be just a fun capture because I know where they go and what they eat. And not only is it fennel, but it's dill and parsley that they love, and they love to overwinter. You can capture them or the caterpillar in September or October, and they will stay in their enclosure until March. And freezing weather, they're still there. They are an amazing, amazing insect, as well as this image. And it looks like he's climbing to the sky. So definitely fit for a king. I would go in and I would maybe just crop it just a little bit more. Because really, I don't necessarily think you need that extra spot there, just because of the extra shadows that were in there. But again, a lot of these are subjective and it's open for interpretation. As the maker, if it's something that you liked and you enjoyed, embrace it. And I mean that with all of these images, really. We picked up the camera to begin with because it was something that we wanted to do. And we should always be shooting from the heart and doing the things that we love. If we don't love what we're doing, then why are we doing it?
Was by Kat Mintz. This is Lantern Shop, New Orleans.
Nicely done. I love the highlights, the shadows. Nothing is blown out. After sitting and gazing at it, these two items right here are just a slight distraction. They don't really add to it, but I see the importance of keeping the door here. However, at the same time, this door has been cropped off. So let's see what happens if we bring it in right to the edge of that, the arch of that doorway there, and see if it doesn't change just a little bit. Perhaps just a little. You could always come in and lighten the shadows just a little bit here. Let's bring in our brush, or actually, let's do the brush. Let's just strike a line down here. And we're going to bring those shadows up just a bit, just to match the other side there. And there you go. Now, one other thing that you could have possibly done is, now that I've made this part symmetrical, this part is not. So that's one of the things that judges do look for in photographs like this, is they're looking for the symmetry. So what is equal here is not, or what is here is not equal on this side. And it's more than likely just the adjustment of your body, and you would have had an image that was even stronger. I like the fact that as you're walking in through it, figuratively, it's drawing you into the back of the image and the layering, and they certainly look for those things in the images.
It was by Patricia Munford. Let's talk about it.
What a fun image. And certainly one that, again, you have to be in that space to be able to get it. It makes me wonder, what are they talking about? I love the lighting, the structure of it. Everything about it just makes me smile and think, good grief, football season is right around the corner. And here we go again. Fun times, great images.
That was by Jerry Posano. Life in Pastel.
Wow. What type of bird is this? I love it. Beautifully captured. I love the soft focus in the background. I would come in and I would clear up some of these extra twigs here, because they really don't necessarily add to the photo. Where this generative feature does come in here, let's see how it reacts coming across here. Sometimes it's really a mess, and sometimes it isn't. So the only way that you're going to find out is if you try it. It's pretty smart these days. That's not bad. Look at that. Yeah, that's really nice. I would want the one that has the separation here, because then I'm going to come up and I'm going to remove this. Well, and all of these things can also be done with the rubber stamp tool. So if, again, you have the ruling on no AI, rubber stamp, even though it is some form or fashion AI, it's been around for a very long time. And you do have to have a certain amount of skill set to know how to use it, versus just highlighting an area and removing it. So you see, by just coming in here and removing some of these extra little branches, it takes away the confusion, and it puts your focus more right on that beautiful bird there. If you got into this area, it may take you a little bit more time. Again, you can rubber stamp that in Photoshop. You can also use the healing brush tool. All of those things would certainly clean this up quite a bit and make it even stronger.
It's by Harold Lana. This is titled Lined Up.
Boy, they certainly are, that's for sure. Great capture again. Is this the most recent, what was it, DC United? Or I'm not even sure what the team is. I know that there's been a lot of hype here lately about the games, and a lot's been focused on them. I love the composition where you're leading in. It's stair stepping in. Well done, especially when you have no control whatsoever over where they are and their positioning. Great job.
It's by Ling Whitworth. This is titled Looking for Food.
Mm. As much as I know that it may have been difficult to get close to this subject, it does appear as though it is cut out. So we want to be very careful of that, especially up in this area here. There seems to be a lot of hard images or edges. One of the things that you can do if you're going to do that is to come back with a soft brush on your layer and bring that back. It does look like you've got some extra shadowing up in here. These are all things that will be pointed out if for some reason you do put this into competition. This area in here, the shadows are blocked, so there's no detail there. I do love the leading lines that bring you in here, and it makes you wonder what in the world is he looking at? And I'm hoping that he's going to get whatever it is that he's after. So I bet it was an ultimate experience to be this close and be able to get this image as well.
It's by Ed Hageman. This is titled Lower Falls, Yellowstone.
That's beautiful. I can imagine that it was, the elevation was very high here, the air thin and cool, and it's definitely a refreshing image. I love that all of your highlights down in this area, none are blown out. It's obvious that it was a beautiful day. It's a breathtaking scene, and I hope you enjoyed being able to get this image. It's beautiful.
It's by Mark Best. Making Waves.
Again, another awesome capture. I would like to have seen either a little bit more on the sides here, just to see what the story is. A little bit more. I know the title is Making Waves, and that's obvious what he's doing. If not more on the horizontal, I would bring it in a little bit tighter and create the horizontal so that impact of making the waves, it punches it right there when you bring it in a little bit closer.
It's by Kurt Engelman. This is titled Malvern Hill Fog.
What a serene landscape. It makes you wonder what has happened there prior to this photo being taken. It's definitely a moment of quiet retrospect and nicely done. I love the composition. If I click on my crop tool, your subject is right there in that lower quadrant, following all the rules and direction, rule of thirds right here, rule of thirds right here. I'm sure if I pulled up the Fibonacci spiral, it would, that spiral would fall right in the same area as well. Nicely done.
It was by Steve Sabin, and I'm sorry if I slaughtered his name. This is titled Mom's Favorite.
Oh, that's such a cute name. I really like that. Well, and I'm loving the flowers, and it makes me miss the fact that I haven't been out in my own garden much this year. And seeing these definitely inspires me to go out and photograph my flowers a little bit more. I love the title. It's perfect. Because even though we say there isn't a favorite, we know there is. No, not really. I'm kidding. I'm really enjoying this. I love the purple. I love the stages of everything that's been shown. The one on the end here, obviously the favorite, is kind of giving a toss of the hat, a toss of the hand, saying, I'm the one. And I think it just speaks volumes. Nicely done.
It's by Paul Bickford. This is Morning's Companion.
Sweet. Again, it's such a pleasing image. It can go in several different categories. As far as the title goes, I love the title. I would just perhaps want to come in and see it a little bit tighter. As much as every bit of this story or the photo tells the story, your main interest really is right there with your morning companion. So I would possibly crop from this direction, still showing the background, showing the interest, but it shows that that companion is right there beside. Again, the item that draws my eye is this bright light right here. So I would possibly come in, as long as it's not in the reportage category, you can remove that. If it is reportage, you cannot remove items that are in the photo. They have to stay. You can do slight adjustments as far as cropping and color adjustments, but altering the image is a big no-no. And if they find out, they will either disqualify you or remove it from the competition, because it is not allowed, because you're actually changing history or the scene. So there, by taking that out, your interest comes right back down in here. Another way that you can bring interest into here is, let's see what happens if we select subject. Okay, so it's going to select all of these. So let's reverse that. Invert. And I'm going to, let's see, add to the mask with a brush. I want to have just the little boy and his dog. And let's see if I have it backwards or not. Yep, so by darkening that background just a little bit, the little boy and his dog stand out a little bit more. Okay.
By Carrie Gottlieb. This is titled Mountain and Meadow Harmony.
Oh, that's for sure. I think I just sighed a little bit when I looked at this image. I could see myself sitting in a nice soft hammock or reclining chair over here with a book and a nice glass of iced tea and just enjoying the scenery. I love the leading lines that bring me in and take me all the way through the image and all the way through the top, which is essentially what we want our viewers to do. We want them to enjoy 100% of the image, and you certainly do here.
It's by Jane Webb. New York Solitude.
As much as I say I recognize the space, I don't, but a cityscape will do that to you as well. One of the main things that I notice is that the fence is more in focus than what appears to be your subject. So you do want to be mindful of where that focal point is when you're focusing. And sometimes these cameras, they have a mind of their own, and they can certainly not focus where we intend to. Again, my little trick of darkening the background I would use in this to bring that subject forward if she were a little bit more in focus. So I've chosen the background, and I'm just going to dip that background down just a little bit. And all of a sudden, there she is, front and center. So nicely done.
By Marianne Barnhart. This is titled Open Road.
This reminds me of the Windows screen of the hillside with the nice bright blue sky. I love the leading lines leading you into the photo. I'm a little bit concerned about the saturation that's up here in the clouds from or in the sky from a competition point of view. As much as it may have been that bright that day, sometimes our judges get into believing or not believing just because they weren't there. You do want to be careful if you're doing any type of sky work that you don't get caught up in the ghosting up in the branches of a tree, and I don't see any here. So it doesn't look as though that was affected in any way, shape, or form. I'm definitely enjoying the image.
Was by Tony Johnson. This is Pop of Peony.
Ah, peonies. Did you know that if you cut a peony when it's like a marshmallow before it opens and it's soft, you can leave it in the refrigerator for up to 30 days and rehydrate it and still enjoy them a month later? With that being said, we're now enjoying this peony 2 months later through photographs, which is why we do what we do. I would certainly bring this in a little bit tighter just because that is our main interest. And I would keep that bud in there and just bring it in a little bit tighter. I love the peonies and I'm loving the image.
It's also by Tony Johnson. This is Precision Exhibited.
So as much as I've shown you, and first of all, beautiful image, I love it. As much as I've shown you about darkening the background, it appears as though that has been done in this image, but almost to the point where she appears as though she is floating. So if perhaps you came in and did a linear gradient instead of darkening the entire background and keeping that foreground a little bit lighter, now all of a sudden she's standing on something and she's grounded and she still stands out really nicely, but there's more believability to the image. So I love the colors. I can't imagine being able to bend that way. Good on her. I love it.
It's by Cero. This is titled Rise of the Three Sisters.
Oh, interesting title. I have two other sisters, so I would definitely relate to this. I love the highlights on the mountaintop there, the fact that it is not blown out. You have all of your shadows and highlights, none of your blacks are blocked. Perhaps maybe darken the sky just a little bit. Oops, not the background. Let's do a different mask. Let's do a select sky. And let's just deepen it just a little bit. And that gives you just a hair more drama with the light going down. So I love it. Nicely done.
It was by Heidi Nunnally. Saguaro Cactus Sunset.
Beautiful. I love the yin yang of this, where typically when you see cactus, you don't expect to see water. So just that makes me smile and go, now I wonder where this was taken. Again, I would come in and I would bring these shadows up just a little bit in this foreground, and I would do that using a linear gradient. Just maybe pull them up ever so slightly, just enough to give you just a little bit more depth in there. And there it is. So nicely done. Very serene.
It's by Ed Hageman. This is titled Sandwiched.
Sandwiched. Ah, I see what you mean. Right there in the center. And truly another great capture. The opportunity to be in this area when this moment happened it's just not always easy. And if you are familiar with shooting birds or not shooting birds, photographing birds, then you are truly familiar with this. It does concern me, the clarity of it. The shadows and the blacks are not defined. Something like this for competition would not do well, unfortunately. As much as emotionally we may be attached to an image, we're just as much attached to the moment, and that's just as important as capturing it, is that we remember and we're there. I am still enjoying it, and I'm sure it was beautiful to see.
It's by Shashi Air. This is Savannah Sunset Landing.
Wow, another beautiful silhouette, and uh, the capture of the sun going down with the plane, and I see the importance of having everything within the sky there because it is telling the complete story. Um, from a competition point of view, perhaps it may or may not do well just because it takes you a little bit of time to see what the title means because you have to find the images in the bottom or the silhouettes. And so with that being said, I would probably just pull it in. And of course, my screen is, let's go this way so I can get to it. There we go. I would let it be more of a panoramic, and then you're pulled right into that moment. Normally, when the judges are looking at your images, they have maybe 30 seconds to make their decision on whether they're going to thumbs up, thumbs down, or give you a score. So don't make them work for it when you're showing them your images. You want it to be clear cut, especially when you have a great title. You want them to be able to see what that title relates to.
It's by Michael Orr. Say something.
This one just makes me giggle because I don't know that I would sit there and wait if someone was screaming at me, which is the fun in the photo as well, is that, you know, they're just kind of looking at each other, and the relationship to the portrait that's on the wall there is also compelling in saying, say something. They could even be saying that to each other. So it's certainly a fun image. And makes me smile.
It's by Paul Bickford. This is titled Scott's Edition.
Okay. And again, I go back to the title on this. I love the architecture of it, but the title does not draw me in and doesn't explain to me what I'm seeing. So from a competition point of view, that would cause me concern because we're here to tell stories, and sometimes we're not able to tell the story. Our title itself has to explain it for us. I'm imagining it's a foggy day, so your sky being about the 18% gray is par for course. Although when I look down here in the corner, and this is certainly something that judges would get you on, there appears to be some ghosting and hazing among the tree level, which makes me believe that there's been some treatment to the sky. And the minute that they see that, they're going to take points off and they're going to ding you on it. Right down to the lightness here in the trees, where it's lighter here than it is up here. So it's not matching the sky. So when you have trees involved, that's something that you really want to be careful of, is that this area down here matches what's up in the sky.
It's by Steve Sabine. This is titled Serenity at Dawn.
What a very serene scene. And it makes, even though I know it's a statue, as a mom, I want to go in and put my hand on this child's shoulder and say, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" So it's very mysterious and makes you wonder, which photography does that to you. When you're photographing things, you should want to know more of the story and what's going on. These areas down in here, I'm a little bit concerned about just because of the shading. In fact, now that I look at it a little bit longer, it appears to be up here too. So it makes me think that there's been a vignette applied. I would refrain from doing that just because it takes from the image, in my opinion. But other than that, I'm truly enjoying that, the reflections, and wanting to know more about the story.
It's by Ann Fulcher.
Mary Ann, actually, this is mine. I don't know whose image that was. That's not Serenity at Dawn.
That's What is that?
The
That's
file name
Serenity.
says Serenity.
Sorry, I'm not sure why my spreadsheet sorted them differently.
And I don't have that information, Anne.
That's Serenity by Dave Johnson. Okay, sorry, Dave.
And then next is the Serenity at Dawn.
Yes.
There we go. Just a little bit of confusion. Okay, beautiful capture. At first glance, it almost appears as though it's riding up a little bit on the right-hand side. So I would check that, and you can just simply come, oh, no, don't do that. Go back, undo, undo, undo. All right. Let's see if we can do that again. All right, so I would pull this down just a little bit. And if you're in Photoshop, you can always strike a line from the top and drag it down to check your horizon lines. I love the leading lines that come in from the left, the layering here from the right that leads you in. Beautiful capture. I love the colors, the shadows, the highlights, the gradations. It's just well done. I'm enjoying it.
One is actually by Ann Fulcher. She is not impressed.
This one just makes me giggle. What an amazing capture to be here at this moment in time and be able to get this image. From a competition point of view, it does concern me that there's some haloing around the birds, even though I don't think it was cut out and put in a different background. It does have that appearance. So you may want to go in and just soften these areas just a little bit, because especially now in the world of AI, even if you haven't done something like that to it, the conclusions are drawn quickly and they think that you have. So take that air of judgment away. And then it may be something you don't have to worry about. Nicely done. It's fun.
By Linda Schmiel. This is titled Sidewalk Board Game.
Oh, this is such a nice image. I love the contrast, the composition, the storytelling. There's not much in it at all that I would change. It is what it is, and it's the life of two young children, just passing time, and it's very analog, which children don't know much about these days. It's a quieter, softer time for sure.
It was by Jean Boyd. This is titled Sleeping Seals of Sable.
Oh, this is fun. Oh my goodness. They just become one with each other. I'm not sure how this was photographed or your opportunity for getting closer. Um, it appears as though it's blurry here. However, I also know, being a beach person, that when the wind is blowing, which it appears back here that it is, it's very rough, that sand blows. And when it does that, it does create a fog. So just be mindful of that. Obviously, if that's the case here, it wasn't anything that you could do anything about. But with that in mind, I would be even more intent on making sure that this area right here is in crisp focus. So you could always take the brush and mask it out, bring up the sharpening there, just to make it a little bit more so. But oh, this is a fun image. I want to go and pet them, even though I know that that is not a wise thing to do. You still just want to hug them.
By Heidi Nunnally. This is titled Solitary Walker.
What an amazing shot. And again, where this is a very rough day, foggy, it's certainly not a beach day. You can tell down here with the surf that there's so much motion here, but yet this walker is crystal clear. It's nice that the horizon line is separating her right here and not cutting off of her head at the shoulders, which is a mistake that's often made. So well done in this capture. The composition is great where it's utilizing this lower quadrant here. Well done.
It's by Pat Davis. It's a source of life.
Ah, yes, it was. A friend of mine, her dad actually had one of these behind his house, and it was quite a process to get it going. And so, if you didn't know how to get it going, you had no water. Um, Children don't understand that these days, or at least children in our country. So this is definitely a poignant shot and title. I love how even in the background there are leading lines, and the focus is right here on this old pump. Nicely done.
It's by Jane Webb. This is titled Spare Change.
I'm loving the image, although it's sad that we still have to worry about this. This man is definitely full of personality, and I bet he truly has a story to tell. I'm not sure the circumstances when the photo was captured. It is a little bit soft over here, but it may have been seconds that you had to capture the image, and sometimes it's more important to capture the image than it is to get caught up in the details. And it still tells the story, which is what the maker was after. So well done.
It was by Victor Grand. Sunlit Slot Canyon.
Wow, Slot Canyons. It's on my wish list of places to go and see. I can only imagine that it was amazing. And being there as these beams of light are coming in. As much as I've said, be careful of the highlighted area because that's where your attention goes. In this particular image, it's very important because we know through these lights here that there was a opening in the sky, which is what's actually illuminating the canyon. So the rules don't always apply, and that's why it's important to know what they are and then bend and break them when it's appropriate. Well done.
It's by Carol Hageman. It's a sunlit flamboyance.
I want this on my wall. This is just simply amazing. I love the overall contrast and warmth and the feel of the motion and the in-flight, the process. And whether it is or it isn't a composited image, I don't care. I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. The only thing that I would change is this one little spot right in here. I would take it out because it's a little bit distracting. You have just a couple of little dots in here that don't add to the image. So I would take them out right down to, oh, I think that's my monitor. Yep, that spot up there is on my monitor. And that's one thing too, when you're looking at these images, make sure that your monitor is clear because you could be sitting there rubber stamping or clearing a spot for a long time, not knowing why it's not changing when it's actually on your monitor. Ask me how I know.
By Venkat Santosh. This is the forest through the trees.
I love it. So if you are familiar with Julianne Cost, she is the Photoshop queen, and she has a book out, and it's, I think, Through the Passenger Window is the name of it, and it is full of images like this. And it gives a whole new perspective to being present and capturing images that are both thought-provoking, certainly frameable, and just pieces of art. And this one certainly qualifies as that. I love to see that the maker stepped out, perhaps out of their comfort zone, and put this in to be seen with all of the other images perfectly framed and in focus and so on, because this is certainly abstract art.
It's by Michael Bryant. There's enough for everyone.
Of course there is. Ah, the bumblebee or the carpenter bee, although I believe this to be the bumblebee. Um, it's always nice to be able to get up close, and as I sit and I look, I notice that the ants are here and they are sharing. I am a little bit concerned that the blacks are blocked, so you can take that up in the shadows. It's still an enjoyable image and one of bravery if you're not afraid of bees.
It's by Cat Mint. They told me it was decaf.
This is crazy. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. Um, the only thing that I would change is the fact that this little bird, as much as he has as much personality, I would need to crop it because the impact of this image needs to be right here with this one little guy or gal or whatever, and bring it right there. I would then come in and possibly take out this stick, maybe even that one, so that the main focus is right there on that bird. He is cray cray. So much fun.
It's by Parks Roundtree. This is titled Thor's Hammer.
Again, another beautiful photo where you had to do some sort of hiking to get to it. Either that or it was a great overlook opportunity. The highlights are a little bit hot here, so I would perhaps bring those down just a little bit, not much. All you have to do is slide that slider in just a little bit, and it just brings it right down to something that's not just a lot of pop. Other than that, great capture.
It's by Terry Troxel. Three Friends, One Hidden Glance.
This is so much fun. And the storytelling is fantastic. I love that the little girl's hiding behind here, and it certainly would lend itself maybe even to yet another title that suggests something along those lines. One thing that's often fun too, and again, using caution with AI, and this is not editing photos, you can actually upload a photo to ChatGPT and ask it to title that photo for you. I'd be curious to see what type of a title, in addition to the one that you've already given it, it gave to this. I would also come in and I would crop it in a little bit tighter. Come in about right here, just to bring more of that interest right in there. And we're losing a little bit of the girl's shirt here. So I dropped those highlights down just a little bit. And this little highlight slider is wonderful with wedding dresses. Where they have lace, it will do the exact same thing. If it brings in, or if it decreases those highlights too much, you can certainly come in and grab a brush. Just take care of that one little area right there. And do the same thing with highlights. And then you can go too far, obviously, so don't do that. Just bring it down a little bit more. Sometimes you can even up the shadows, but if you do that, you risk losing some of the detail. Okay.
That was by Venkat Santosh. This is titled Tree Pose.
And that it is, the flamingo. I love seeing flamingos. I am a little bit concerned about the shadow and the detail here, and I know it's very hard to get close to them. However, in a competition scenario, that would be one of the first things that a judge talk to you about, that and the detail of your image. So just be mindful of that. I love the reflection or the shadow and being able to put the two together. If this is your framing, I would suggest to do something either on a black or even perhaps something a little bit more along the lines of the coloring of the feathers in the flamingo.
It's by Shashi Air. This is the last one, titled Whispering Dawn.
This is such a nice image. Again, as I've spoken about before, you have your main image right here that, or not your main image, but your focus is drawn right here in the forefront. And then you're carried in with the layering and carried further back with the trees, only to finish up with the building in the background. Nicely done. I would perhaps up the contrast just a little bit. Just to see a little bit more of what it does, being mindful and careful not to completely block out this area, although these trees are more of a silhouette than they are one where you would be looking for definition in them. So it's forgiven as far as that goes. Nicely done.
It's by Bruce Yoder.
And I'm going to stop my share and I'm back.
I think Martin
To
wants to
get
say something.
everybody on there at one time. Excellent job, Carol. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
I learned so
Thank you
much.
so much. It was really helpful to see your edits of the images and what it did to them through Lightroom and so forth. Some people are very familiar with that, others not so much. So it was very helpful. Thank you very
Good.
much.
You're welcome.
Any comments from the group?
I think some are popping
Everybody
up
understands it.
in the chat.
How about online?
You all have to turn your microphones on if you are going to speak, because I've turned them all off.
Well, we just want to say wonderful evaluation. Thank you so much, Carol. Wonderful. You taught us a lot by moving the slides around and the masking, etc.
I think I might make one comment about the AI. The group here in the church noticed that certainly the AI images that were altered are not really what I was talking about with AI. That is the insertion of an animal or the insertion of a person or something like that is more what I was speaking of, or generating an image from AI or using words to generate something from AI is mostly what I was talking about that we were not in favor of. Not so much about taking out a distraction or something that I would call a minor edit that doesn't change the complexion or the composition of the image itself, but just makes it a better image. Any other commentary that, so I think that, again, the AI thing that I was talking about was much more changing the composition of the image rather than something like we saw you doing. And that was what you were doing would not qualify or disqualify an image in our view. Any other comment, Jane?
I'd just like to thank you for taking the time as you were going through each image to use Lightroom to show the tools and what is available and what you can do with an image to make it pop and be more enjoyable to look at. I just thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, again, thank you so much for helping us, and we appreciate the critiques. Terry, one more comment?
I have a question.
Sure.
You're talking about softening the edges. Sometimes when you process, you get a hard edge there. It stands out. How would you do that softening? Do you just paint it and then
So the softening, Lightroom does not allow you to extract the image. Photoshop does. So I would do that in Photoshop, where you can go in and there's several different ways that you can do that and soften the edges, which will really make a difference. Just a little sidebar, infomercial commercial. If anyone is interested in private lessons or tutoring, I do that. And I do it via Zoom. I am 2 hours from your location, which I can certainly travel to do an in-person if that's ever an interest, or I can certainly do the Zoom as well. But I do have Zoom calls where I do the private mentorship and that sort of thing as well, if anyone is interested.
So, but on Lightroom, have you tried using the brush and painting that edge and then turning the texture clarity down or anything?
So you can do that. You can do that with a soft brush. The difference is, honestly, I wouldn't do it myself because I can do it 20 times faster jumping over to Photoshop. So I wouldn't afford myself the frustration of trying to do it in Lightroom when I know I can do it so much easier in Photoshop.
Yeah, thank you. Some of us aren't Photoshop. Photoshop is always
We like Lightroom better
confounding
than
me.
Photoshop.
Right.
But-
I mean, you can, so are you talking about the image of, I believe it was the coyote that had the hard edges on it?
You were just talking about an image that had an edge that stood out too much, and you were saying about softening it. I was wondering how you were going to do that.
Can't you get the same thing with putting more of a feather on the edge, and doing it that way, even after you've processed it, coming back and doing a feathered brush so that that edge is not so abrupt?
That's the kind of idea I was
Sure. So
thinking
so
of
what
experimenting with.
right. So what you could do is you could do a masking brush, or a brush in general, and you could slide the clarity or the detail down and make it very small and make your image very large. And then you would just trace along that line where the image was hard, and you would essentially be blurring that edge. Um, it could be tedious, to be honest.
Again, thank you so much for your help. It was very educational, and we appreciate it, and maybe we'll do it again next year.
All right, sounds good. I hope you have a great evening.
Thank you.
Too. Thank you so
Carol?
much.
You're
I'm going to turn off the recording for all.
Okay.
All right,
Carol,
good night. Yes?
on a personal note, I was curious, as a Maryland Terrapin, I was curious as to where in Maryland you were from, and I looked it up, and you were just a few minutes from where my parents met in the early 1940s. They met at Cobb Island.
Wow. Okay,
So-
well, directly across the Wycomico River is Bushwood, and I am 5 minutes from Bushwood.
Oh, wow. Yeah, my dad had quite some stories about that.
Cool. I've heard stories before that when the Wycomico froze over in the winter, that some of the bad teenage boys, the rascals, would drive their cars across the river to go over to Cobb Island to see the girls.
That sounds like something my dad would have done. He still, to the day he died, he swears there's a half a beer that he left on the table when he went over to meet my mom.
Probably at Quade's store. Fun times.
Yeah.
Good, clean, fun times.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. If that's all, I'll say good night.
Thank you, Carol. Good night.
Good night.